Hello everyone, Mr. No Souls here, and today I want to do something that's a little bit different. Normally I do game recommendations that really focus on whether or not you should buy a game at a certain price point. However, I have a game that I've been playing for quite a few years now called Escape from Tarkov, made by Battlestate Games here, and you can see I have the launcher pulled up. And I was asked to make a general guide for people wanting to play this game. It's known for being a very hardcore extraction shooter, a very popular genre now, and it has a quite a large level of depth to it. It's not necessarily someone that just is looking for really quick games in just like 5 minutes in and out. Very rarely are you going to get that unless you're like scavenging into factory. Maybe you can get a 5 minute raid. Most of the time, though, you're looking at games that are going to be anywhere from 20 minutes on the short end to something that can be almost 30 to 40 minutes on the longer end. And right out the gate, first thing that I'm going to recommend is you just go make sure you have a code set up in so that way you're actually running through it. Maybe check your settings, but most importantly, you're going to want to make sure that you actually have server listings that are good for you. As you can see here, I predominantly run on North America Northeast and Central. They are two of the best pings for me. I could also technically throw on like South, but there's no real point to that. Everything else is pretty high ping, so I don't bother with that. Now let's actually load into the game. For me personally, it takes a minute. I'm eventually going to be getting myself a new PC, so hopefully that will be significantly faster at that point. But it's probably going to take about like 4 to 5 minutes to complete all this. So bear with me, I will skip ahead through this portion. Alright, we are in. Now, why exactly should you bother to listen to me? Well, I have over 2,000 hours in this game. I've played about 5 wipes now, at the very least 5 wipes. And I have been relatively successful, both starting out fresh from wipe and then also doing like mid to late wipe starts. I've found a great deal of success doing my raids, and I occasionally kill boss scavs. I'm nowhere near at the point where I'm farming bosses and cultists and those kind of things. But I am regularly going out and surviving my raids, getting kills. But more importantly than all that, I work a full-time job. So my advice is really heavily geared towards those that don't have the 60 like hours a week to just go and run raids. If you have maybe like 5 hours to like 10 hours a week, even less than that, some of this advice is going to be useful to you. You're going to be able to do this. And for people to understand, like 5 to 10 hours, that's generally like doing a raid a day, maybe 2 raids a day. And you can see right here, I sit at 2,143 hours of being online, and I have roughly 89 days of account lifetime. So, decent amount of time. This time, I'm sitting roughly at a 50-minute average lifespan. I survived about 34% of my raids, which isn't terrible. It's not the best, but it's not terrible either. Unfortunately, I do have a run through, which is very sad, but it is perfectly fine. My survivor class type is a neutralizer, which means I do move around a bit and I kill people. Maybe not purely focused on PvP, but a good number. And then you can see here my overall accuracy is sitting at 0.3, which, considering you're using automatic rifles for most of my guns, like submachine guns, PP Shaw is perhaps one of my favorites. 0.3 isn't bad. And then you can see here I kill a lot of people in the mid ranges. I get a couple people up in the higher ones, but these guys tend to be pretty rare. I kill more of a higher rank in mid rank than like your very low rank. Again, finding these guys are kind of rare, and finding these guys are very, very rare. You don't normally see a lot of them. but when you do, they tend to be very experienced and very difficult fights. Or you rat them. My longest shot distance is almost at 300 meters. This was against the PMC. I believe it was Woods, if I remember correctly. And find transfer tasks are my favorite because they are dirt easy and you can complete them very quickly. And that's just something very important that I want to kind of point out. Now, something real quick to be aware of when you're starting out. Actually, I should definitely clean this up just a little bit, because my first piece of advice is always making sure the top of your inventory is nice and clean, because whenever you open up your stash, first thing, regardless of Edge of Darkness or just a normal when you have tier 1 stash, this is where you're going to be opening up to, and this is really where you're going to be working. So you want to make sure that the top of your stash is kept clear and open so that you're quickly able to load up and unload your PMCs. You could also do things like trying to get, all these parts and pieces to run a quick little build here. So can't do all that, don't have to worry about it. Now I just go and I buy this because I've already built out this loadout. I do that, see 3 seconds there, equipped it, boom. And now I have a loadout all prepped out, 3 seconds. I have my PSD GCH rounds in here, which I've actually decided to not keep using these things. And I'll talk about ammos later. Ammos are just as important as guns, if not more so. So we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. Right now, this is a very light build. If I was going to do something heavier, I would do... oh, it's because I have a headset. There we go. I'd do something, take this off, and stick that out. I guess I could run a semi-automatic or something like that, but this really, if you're running like a Killa helmet and some body armor like this long barrel semi-automatic rifle isn't really a great call. You'd probably want to run automatic, but we're not going to worry about that too much. This is your loadout area. This is what you're going to be going into a raid with if you're running PMCs. You can bring in helmets, you can bring in armor. Let's go. Hold up, let's just do this, pull that there, pull this here, get that there. And then I'm going to have to take a minute to do all that. Okay. So, this is going to be my loadout. I'm right now doing a task right here, so you can see later on you can end up with a lot of tasks. These tend to be your way of getting progression, getting reputation with the traders, unlocking new items to be able to buy, or having individual things you need to do to get reputation with people. So like right here, you can see I can get 0.05 rep with Ragman, which will help reduce his costs and also help me unlock new armors to use. I also in this quest have something called this Hextac HPC plate. This is a very high tier armor, but you have to be able to survive a raid 25 times in 2 days. So we'll probably do a couple raids with this just to show you a general outline of this. But right here you can see you can have your maps. You can go and kind of study what does the general layout of the map looks like. You can also use things called like Map Genie. It's pretty useful. This is a map of Resort, which is another area, but this is only showing you the inside of the central building. It's not really showing you anything else. So, later on, hopefully they'll add in more detail to the maps, so that way you don't have to worry about using things like Map Genie and such. But it's a nice little touch, and it can really help you orientate yourself before you know any other websites to kind of run with. The downside is, though, you do have to find these maps. These are literal items that are in your stash that you have to store. Some general things to know are skills. These are pretty important, and then you have mastering. These are less important, but they do help you with some guns. So like knowing how to use your shotguns, knowing what your ADARs are. Do you run like assault rifles a lot, pistols? There was actually, you can see here my PP Shaw is level 3. So you can see, like, some of these things I have a lot of experience with. Others of them a little bit less so, like the double barrel shotgun. I do like my double barrel shotgun. let's see, I think I have at least another one that's actually decently high up there, like level 2, unless I'm blind. Shotguns are a particular favorite of mine, but there are also quite a few like submachine guns, rifles, pistols. You can see there's quite a wide selection available to you. And then on the skill side, you have your endurance, which allows you to run longer. Strength allows you to jump further while also carrying more weight. You generally want to keep a balance between these two. These are going to help you get from point A to point B and are some of the most fundamental skills in this game. You can really only train endurance by being under the yellow weight. So when you hit a certain amount of gear, let's come over here and let's do this really quick. Let's see. Let's grab my killer gear, and can I just grab something that's like really heavy? This should get me a little bit more up there. Let's see. What else can I throw in here? I could throw in a key. That'll throw on some more weight. I could probably take that off. Throw on kill. Where did I just put it? Okay, I can't do that because of the helmet. Yeah, I keep forgetting that. There we go. So right here you can see now I hit yellow weight. Once you're at yellow weight, you're going to be training less of your endurance and you're going to be training more of your strength. So generally speaking, going into raids with white weight is more preferably. It'll help you be more mobile and you're likely to get into immediate combat on some maps other than others. So like woods, you might not run into combat like right out the gate. But if you're doing something like shoreline or you're doing something like reserve is very common to get PMC fights right out the gate. You're going to want to come in a little bit lighter on the load. Don't have to, of course. If you're just right at the cusp, it's no big deal. But you'll find that starting out having more mobility and being able to kind of sneak around a little easier is going to be a big help to you. There's other things like vitality, which reduces your chance of getting bleeds and dying from losing limbs. There's something called blacking out a limb. When a limb is blacked out, it hits 0 health points. I'll explain that a little bit more when we go look at health. But effectively, if you get shot again in that limb, it radiates out a large amount of damage to the surrounding body parts. So it's quite dangerous to have a blacked out limb, not only because it radiates damage, but also because, like, let's say you lose a leg, you're not able to walk as efficiently. So you have to use things like painkillers to be able to temporarily walk. And when you have some maps that are quite large, yeah, you can run on a blacked out limb. If you have it pain-killed, you're going to be taking damage for every step that you take. Now, here you go, something like health. Just going and running around doing actions, this is going to help you. This will help you conserve your hydration and energy. It has a little bit of a survival mechanic to it. Maintaining water and energy is important because not only does it help you regenerate your stamina, it also helps you go and aim down sights. It helps you go and my words, why on earth am I blanking on this? It also stops you from kind of having negative detriments. It stops it from going down and like getting dehydrated, which will cause you to take damage and like not be able to see. So a lot of effects you have to consider for these, and some of these you just have to kind of play around and get them up and kind of feel the difference. But when you start out, it's definitely the most difficult from simply a survival standpoint. Once you get a couple raids in, you'll start leveling these things up and it'll really help out. Stress resistance is pretty useful because it helps you fight pain. Only can really get this up by getting shot. Metabolism, you can see I have a pretty high metabolism. This boosts the effect of positive, negative items, and also gives you a little bit better regen if you're having a stimulant effect on you. And if you can, I think this is something that I should also particularly mention. Starting out, your first wipe, your second wipe, you're unlikely to get into the situation where you're going to max out a level on one of these skills. If you do, though, you can get something called an elite, and it will give you extra benefits on top of being just simply maxed out percentage wise. So like if you max out metabolism, for instance, and you get your stomach blacked out, normally you would be hemorrhaging your energy and hydration. It effectively just makes you lose normal speed of energy and hydration. So there are reasons to level up all of these things to max. I recommend going and just looking up on the Escape from Tarkov wiki what each individual skill does at maxed. But this is just a high level of ones that you might want to consider like focusing on. Immunity, don't worry about it. Yeah, there are some really good effects to it, like the increasing of painkillers and stuff like that, but focusing it down, it's situational. Very few things really help you with immunity. Perception masters your hearing distance. You really get this by just looting, and it's pretty important to get your perception up. It really can be a huge warning saver that there's someone moving in 2 buildings over by leveling up your perception. Generally get perception, attention, and searching from opening up containers and simply moving things into your inventory. You don't have to carry them, just moving them into your inventory is all you need to do. So control, left click, move them into your inventory, then just click delete on top of them, drop them. There you go. You've gotten all the experience you need from that, and you can just move on regardless of whether or not you want them. There's a lot of other things, so like you can see here, every single type of weapon has bonuses. SMG is 3, shotguns are 5, assault rifles are 4, so shotguns are, again, my most favorite. And unlike a lot of other games where shotguns are either ridiculously overpowered or ridiculously underpowered, shotguns are a good middle class on this. They have a lot of use cases, but they are far from perfect. And your submachine guns run pistol cartridges inside of them. So normally, submachine guns, you want to be a little bit closer. Assault rifles, you want to be a little bit further. Sniper rifles, of course, are extreme long range. I don't use a lot of throwables, but, that's your grenade, your smoke grenade, so on. Good things to have. Recoil control, very useful. This will level up. Each one gives you a little bit more. You can see here covert movement. I have it to level 12, which isn't nearly as high as my endurance and strength, but having this up really increases your ability to be quiet, and being aware of is grass a common surface versus gravel, which is an uncommon surface, and what is going to be louder. It's really important to be aware of. And right here is your search, which greatly helps you loot. And then there's something called mag drill. So you have magazines in this game, as you probably have noticed when I was looking here. So when we look at this, you can see here's a magazine. You have to go and actually load those magazines. And outside of raid, it's pretty quick. It's literally just click and drag. You go do that, boom, see, done. It's all set up. But when you're in raid, you have to individually load every single round into every single magazine. So having enough magazines is critical, and B, having enough loose ammo sitting around in your pouch. Now, unless you're having Edge of Darkness, you're not actually going to have this much space. You're going to have this much space to work with, which means you have 4 slots. Normally, you might want to bring in your medical, so you're going to want a health item, you're going to want a painkiller, something to help you move around. You're probably going to want something to help you with broken limbs. And then let's see, we probably are going to want something to help with bleeds. I have a stim that I could use for it, but let's go with something that's a little more common you guys might find. Yeah, hemostat. This is perhaps the best one because it gives you something that allows you to be used multiple times. And there's different tiers of these things. Like Selwa, for instance, is far more health healing than your AI2, which people jokingly refer to as cheeses. And just real quick here, I recommend again going to the wiki and looking up the heals and stuff and learning about it, because this video isn't really to go into depth on this, but it's just kind of point things out. You're always going to want to right click and inspect things when you run into new stuff, or alternatively, go to your handbook. Handbook can be a huge help when you're trying to understand what is the difference of these medical stimulators. What exactly do all these treatment items do, splint for fixing damaged bones in place, okay, but then what about this aluminum splint? Oh, I see, it actually has 5 HP, which means it's 5 uses per, and it removes fracture, just like this. So these tend to be the exact explanation of what the item does, and then also how many use cases it has. So right here you can see it has 10, and this thing is removes radiation, energy recovery, so it gives you a little bit of energy and hydration, so that can be useful. It can give you a concussion when you use it for 5 seconds, which isn't great. But it also removes concussion afterwards. So it's like, it has its use case. But the big thing is, removes pain for 350 seconds. So just a couple minutes. Not bad, but it can be a real big boon when you're in a bad spot. Thing that you also have to note though is it takes a upfront cost of an energy hit of 19. So even though you're getting, +1 hydration, +1 energy every 5 seconds, you also have to be aware if you're using this while it's low energy, there's going to be, cost to it. You could bottom out your energy. And then, of course, you need to always be mindful of how long does it take to use it. 7 seconds in the middle of a gunfight can be a death sentence. So maybe you don't want to go to something like Golden Star. You would actually rather pop something like Morphine, which is a 2-second use time, lightning quick, has 300 seconds, so slightly less, but it will stop pain. That's all it does. It has nothing else. Heavy hit to energy and hydration, though. But when you need to get out of there and skedaddle because you're getting shot at from every angle and your window of opportunity to escape with your life is closing, you don't have 7 seconds. You might not even have 2 seconds. So you're going to need to pop something to maybe get yourself out of the situation you're in. Then, of course, you have your medicals. Grizzly is the big one. 4 slot pretty much cures everything, stops light bleeds, heavy bleeds, removes fractures. And when it says 50 HP, it's really talking about 50 of the 1,800 health. So you're going to want to keep in mind on all these. And then, of course, you have your individual pills. These are all painkillers of different sort. Different use cases. I recommend looking up a YouTube video on these things, but this is just a high level, hey, you can learn about them. You can also learn about other things like weapon parts, gear, what are your barter items. So if you're trying to figure out, hey, I have to find valuables in a raid, what exactly are the valuables? You can find that all here. So high level, good explanation for what you might need to do, but it's not something that I would particularly want to spend a lot of time on this video talking about. So now, we've talked about the really high level stuff. Let's go into health. Now, this screen is pretty straightforward. You can see here you have a bunch of different individual components. Altogether, these numbers here, your head, thorax, stomach, right arm, left leg, sum up to 440 HP. This is your total HP. There are 2 in particular you need to be aware of. Your thorax sitting at 85 HP, your head sitting at 35 HP. These 2 health items here, if either of these go black, you will die, most likely. Technically speaking, they can go get blacked out from bleeds. You will not immediately die. You will want to heal your bleed, but any additional damage that you take, doesn't matter if you get shot in a perfect health right leg, doesn't matter if you touch a barbed wire fence, doesn't matter how you get 1 extra point of damage. If either the thorax or the head hit black, you will die from any additional damage. Most of the time, though, that is a rare case. If someone shoots you in the head and this goes to 0, you are dead. If someone shoots you in the thorax and this goes to 0, you are dead. You have to keep these 2 thoughts in very good consideration. Helmets will protect this. Pieces of armor like Killa, which protects both your thorax and your stomach. So thorax and stomach will have tier 5 level armor, which is decently high tier armor. You're going to want to keep this protected. Again, as I told you, if your stomach is blacked, you start hemorrhaging energy. Also, you take greatly increased damage. So if you get hit from the stomach again, 1 or 2 times, you're probably going to die. Now, right arm, left arm. This affects your aim. If you have these things blacked out, you're probably going to be experiencing tremors, so you're going to have a hard time keeping straight shots on target. You're also going to have to worry about, are you going to be bleeding? Do they have fractures and stuff? These will make the situation significantly worse. So again, you're going to be wanting to run something that can cure off your bleeds, cure off your fractures, handle it. And there's also another item of particular note I think I should mention. Your CMS kit and your Serve 12 kit. These things allow you to restore a limb to 1 HP. What does that mean exactly? It means that even though a limb is blacked, extremities, so right arm, left leg, stomach, um, you can recover all of these. If these go black, there's no way to recover them. You have to get out of raid. But if these go black, you can repair them with a CMS or Serve 12. The thing to note, though, and also note that Serve 12 can remove fractures. So there is a couple extra use cases on this. If you're interrupted, like you stop healing in the middle of the use of a CMS or Serve 12, you lose the use case. It's consumed at start, not at end. That is very different from other meds. It's very important to remember. So, again, we're going through this at lightning speed, just so you know, like, individual things to worry about. And I think that's really just a good high-level explanation of everything that you're going to see here. Now, there's a good bit more that we're going to want to cover. There's something called the flea market, which you see right here. Just got some money from it. But then you also have something called your hideout. Now, this is critical. This is perhaps where 50% of the game resides, is what is in your hideout, what can you access through your hideout, and then what can you store in your hideout. And give it a second. The first time load is always pretty slow. So I still have a little bit of power here. You can see I have a Bitcoin farm, so I'm able to get some passive money generation. You have to run something in your generator. And as you can see here, I actually forgot. I should have gone, but actually that's fine. I'll use this as kind of a high-level explanation to crafting. This actually is perfectly fine. Water collector here. So there's a lot of passive items here that you can use to make things. In your workshop, you tend to have a lot of your weapons, ammos, parts, and pieces. This can help you out doing a lot of your turn-in quests, but it also can save you a lot of money in being able to get access to ammunition that you normally wouldn't be able to get access to. And it tends to be easier to upgrade this once you hit level 15 and get access to the flea market. But we're not going to worry about that right now. Scav case is something that's very much risk reward. You can either turn in money to get a chance of getting items, or you can hand over something called moonshine, or use intelligence folders. Personally, I never really run this unless I find an intelligence folder. I do have the ability to craft moonshine, but I don't really like doing that because I don't know if I'm actually going to net a profit on it. Your nutrition center is used for making your food and drinks. It can also be used to make some of the barter items you're going to want. Your med station is going to be your go-to for whether or not you're going to have meds. So like, for instance, now I could go build myself some injectors. These are injectors that go and give you healing per second and act as a painkiller for a short duration, shorter than your gold star or your morphine, but it's very quick use and you get health regen. So, you know, not a bad thing at all. You're going to want to keep an eye on this and try to level it up. It is a difficult one to level, but it's well worth it. Personally, I think the library is one of the most important ones you can get because it gives you raid experience, so it helps you level up quicker, while also helps you get up your skills. Always consider what the individual benefit of each part is. Right now I'm just going over crafting, but since I'm looking at the library, I might as well just talk about it. Laboratory, this is where you can build a lot of cases, a lot of your barter items. You can also get some armors from this. It has a lot of use case, and if you do end up with a lot more time in a period, like for instance, if you're a traveling engineer and you're going to be out for like 3 months, but then once you're back home, you're going to have like a month to yourself where you're going to be able to run a lot of raids back to back. You're going to want to like figure out what is the optimal things at that individual wipe. And there are people that are always going to be running YouTube videos explaining, hey, what's the current optimal path? Was a retired vet, Jesse Kazam. There's a couple guys. Jesse Kazam, he tends to do more like cool raid vids and stuff like that, but sometimes he talks about meta equipment and like what's the best case. So you're going to want to keep eyes on like those YouTubers to figure out what is optimal for these individual stations. And you have things like illumination, heating, your generator, as I showed, is where you get your individual power to run everything. And then your gym, you can upgrade your strength and endurance in here. You just have to go in here and play a mini game. This does technically start off as something that reduces the efficiency of your hideout, which is something you're going to want to get rid of early on. It's called crack in the wall. You're going to have to mop it once, and then you're going to have to break it with a sledgehammer. And it's pretty important to get rid of that hole very quickly because it can greatly reduce the speed of your recovery. Not that it'll, take you into the negative, but it will reduce the quality of everything. So it's worthwhile just to get rid of it if you're doing like passive games or like you have like an hour between games and stuff like that. It can be useful. Generator, you're going to want to at least have level 1. Your booze generator, right here you can see it immediately shows you everything. You just got to do that. It'll take you into your handover screen where you can go and select what you want to hand over. I have my super water, which is a hyper filtered water. You can start producing a tier 3 water collection. And I have sugars. And with that then, in about 3 hours, I'm going to have myself that barter item that you saw for a moonshine that you can run your scav case, or you can sell it for a good bit of money. Air filtration unit, this is a really good thing to have running, but it is quite expensive. I personally don't run it simply because I don't necessarily have the time to always keep it stocked up, and the cost of it's really high. Weapon rack can be useful for storing around a lot of nice guns and equipment. You can get things that you might want to save. For instance, I have this AUG that has a weapon modification on it that reduces its chance of malfunctions. It's pretty nice. It's pretty difficult to get. You can do that with repair kits. So you can get armor and weapon repair kits, and that will allow you to put buffs on your individual guns. They're not really huge, like you don't desperately need them, but they are good to have. Right here, I have everything needed. I just have to complete a quest to be able to upgrade my intelligence center. You're probably going to want to at least get it to level 2. If you can do the quest, you're going to want it to get it to level 3, because this scav cooldown timer, this is a huge way to get money quickly with very low risk. Everything can be a budget if you didn't have to spend any money to pick it up. Technically, you lose the opportunity cost of selling it, but if you don't have to spend any money on it, you can possibly get out of a raid and pull a lot more money if you can run it 2, 3, 4 times. So, also reducing the commission by 30%. That's not a huge thing for like the lower sell things, but when you're selling, like Fierce Moon hatchlings, like what I was showing with the boost generator and stuff like that, the reduction of 30% can definitely be a big increase to your margins once you're able to start selling on the fleet market. And then of course you have other things that you need, so like solar panel. If you come here, I have tier 3, but if you come to where's my Bitcoin farm? Here we go. So you can see I have tier 2 Bitcoin farm. It's locked behind solar panel. And when you're starting out, you need to upgrade these individual stations selectively. There is a sequence that you're going to find. It's like heating, your water, your lavatory, your nutrition. And by going through it one at a time and focusing one, sometimes you can do multiple simultaneously, like right out the gate. Day 1, you're going to be able to upgrade your security to rank 2. And that's like I think you have to actually upgrade it to rank 1. I think you have to build that out. I can't remember if security starts at 0 or 1. I think it actually starts at 1 and you upgrade it to 2. But it's been a minute now, and my brain is farting. That's a really quick one that you're going to want to do. If you're Edge of Darkness, you don't have to worry about the stash at all, because it's going to automatically start off at 4. However, if you're not Edge of Darkness, your first priority is going to be upgrading all of your hideout locations. But in particularly, you're going to want to try to get to stash level 2. That extra couple storage space can be a huge boon to you to be able to actually build your kits and figure out what is going to be useful to you and not. But personally, what I would recommend is, while these are all great, being able to go to your traders, and you can see here you have tons of items. Some of these are going to be grayed out right at the start. You can center mouse wheel click on them or right click discover, and I don't have that opportunity, but that will allow you to see what the individual item is. And every single one of these guys have tasks. These tasks are equal in importance to hideout items. So finding the items needed to upgrade your hideout, while important, it's kind of difficult to know if there's a one-to-one relationship between, hey, I just found flash drives. Is this really worth completing the bronze pocket watch? Or should I just immediately try to run out of raid because I have a flash drive? It kind of depends. Do you already have 2 flash drives sitting in your inventory? If so, maybe it's worth actually, like, sure, I'm going to need 3 of them, but right now, like, the bronze pocket watch is what's holding me up for being able to get up with proper. Maybe I should focus that and take the risk. You can also go and throw it in your, your pocket. So your little pouch here, you can throw it down here, and if you have it in here, you will save it between raids. It won't disappear. Now that I talked a little bit about it, you're always going to want to make sure to see what quests you have for each individual person. You're going to want to go accept all the quests. There's no reason not to accept any of these quests. It's the turning in and completing of them. Some of them are like particular cases, but we're not going to be talking about that right now. I'm just going to go and explain to you what you're really looking for. You're going to want to go and do these individual tasks. That way you can see over here on this side denotes how much money you have in all 3 of the main currencies: rubles, euro dollars, US dollars. Then it's going to say what their current rank is with the trader. So Peacekeeper, I have him at level 3. At level 4, he gets this crown icon, which is the max rank. Currently it shows what my rank is, and it's going to show what rank you become available to promote to level 4 with him. Then it's going to show your reputation. Increasing this reputation decreases the cost of purchases with him. So I have more rep than necessary to get to level 4, and it's blue, so that's great. But since my level is lower than what's necessary, this is red. Blue and red is just a quick way of knowing, hey, have I completed enough to actually continue on? And here you can see USD, US dollar. I have 63.9 thousand spent with him in USD. He requires only 32, so I'm good and set for him to hit max rank. Some people are more difficult, like Skier. You have to spend enough with him, which fortunately now I have. I still have quite a few levels till I'm actually able to, rank him up. So I have time, but definitely want to consider looking at these. Oh, I have just 6 extracts. If you don't have time to be running, 12 raids a day, 13 raids a day, really what you want to do is you want to look, how much time do I have to complete these individual small subtasks? And it's like, well, I can complete Golden Swag tonight, just grab that and do this, but can I turn something in really quickly and get that little bit? Let's just take a look here. If it's a turn-in task and I have the items for it, I could get 0.02 rep, which would put me exactly 0.04 rep away from completing the loyalty requirements. This is huge. Keeping an eye out for these tasks is really the way to get that bread and butter level ups. Just constantly get the very basic ones. If you can get those quests, complete those quests, it doesn't matter whether or not you're able to do every single mission. Yeah, it'd be great to, unlock the DVL or get yourself an extra GP coins and some golden watches to sell and the ruples. Yeah, that's all great. That's all fine and dandy. I would love to have these things. The reflex sight is a common one that I run. I really do want to complete this, but I just keep not having the time to go do it because I don't have easy missions to do in customs. So I have to go out of my way and go to 2 relatively high risk areas to complete this mission. This could be significantly easier because I can maybe go and complete this mission and also get a couple points at this. So if I can do if this had, for instance, 2 days on it, I could maybe do 2 raids today, maybe like get on late, get 3 raids, and hopefully I'll survive a couple, and maybe I'll complete this, and then hopefully I'll also complete this. So altogether, I'd be knocking out point, 0.06. That would put me right there. And that's all you need. That's the big thing to remember. It's not simply doing the tasks. It's not simply doing the hideout. It's not simply doing what these aren't your normal missions. So if you go to your character and you go to your tasks, they call them operational tasks. And if you look at them, doing these operational tasks are really important in looking at what am I doing as far as doing my tasks, what is going to be available to me as far as what I need in my hideout, and then what are my operationals. If you can focus on leveraging all of these into the same set of time, this is be what determines your actual quick ranking and quick unlock of multiple things. Now, we're going to go and look at the flea market. Your flea market is going to unlock at level 15, and I'm going to just quickly show how you use it. So here you go. You can see here in my lavatory, I have those 2 empty fuel canisters I showed earlier. I'm going to be using them for a craft because they no longer have any more energy in them. There's no longer anything that can be saved from it, but I'm going to need 5 of these screw nuts. Right click and inspect so you can see exactly what they are. Right click and inspect and see what bolts they are. It's important to go and do that regardless of whether or not you're looking to upgrade your hideout or you're looking to figure out how to craft. This can tell you what you need in each individual raid, and let's just go here. So click it, and you can see here you can rapidly press Y to be able to get it, and unfortunately that was purchased. Things like nuts and bolts tend to be really high volumes trades, so you're going to want to be pretty quick with it. Yep, and it's going to be difficult to get them all. You know what, just for point in case of showing it, I'm going to go wide. Come on, give me one. There we go. So now I have 5 nuts. Now I'm going to need to get myself the 5 bolts, and this is the flea market. This is what you unlock at 15. You can see here what your individual filters are. You can add your own offers. You can see I'm almost at 7 rep with it. You can have a bunch of wish lists if you're wanting to quickly look at items, see like their costs, and then you can see what you individually have up on the market. You can also set yourself up some automatic filters and have it set as a preset. So for me, for instance, I have mine automatically set to go look at rubles currency, and it generally only shows me items within 80 to 100% of durability if that is applied. Those will be put on only when necessary, and right here you can go, for instance, and see, well, I need body armor. What is the cheapest body armor I can get? Well, right now the cheapest body armor is skier at 80 to 100% condition. If I were to turn that off, I could actually see the actual lower one is sitting here at the S6B2. Now, there's a lot of things to consider with this, because there's a whole bunch of different tiers. You have your tier 2 armor, your tier 3 armor, tiers are 3, and you can see like they're all different materials. They all have different things inside of them, which affects how they repair, how they protect you, whether or not they're a light armor type or not. It also impacts thorax and stomach and stuff like that. Generally, you don't want to worry about that. Don't worry about any of that kind of stuff. Starting out, P.A.K.A. is normally going to be what you're running. That's like 90% of your armor until you get to rank 5. But here's the thing, if you find something in raid that's like higher tier than level 2 and it's in good condition, almost anything is going to be better than your P.A.K.A. So just keep in mind, keep looking at it, and just keep reading. That's really what you need, is you just need to read really quickly. And right here again, you can see the handover screen auto fills it all the way through. Click that, and there you go. That's how you start your crafts. It's also how you start your upgrades. You just got to click on the bottom screen on that little part right there. So in a nutshell, that is how you prep yourself for a raid. Let's just real quickly here come over here. Now you can do this for autofilling, so you can sell pulls over your item. If you control left click, you can put it in there or put it back. There we go. Lightning quick cells. Key bindings, knowing them is pretty important. I'm just going to say something really quick here. LEDXs. They're extremely rare, very difficult to find. If you ever see this, instantly should be inside of your gamma. Just about anything that you're going to find isn't going to be as valuable as a LEDX. So it's worthwhile taking stuff out of your pouch just to get that, because you can just sell it straight to vendor and be able to buy a good number of things, unless it's something that you can't find. If it's like a CMS kit and you don't have any ability to do it, and you find that you really need CMS kits because you keep getting like limbs blacked and stuff like that, I would still, remove the LEDX for it, but maybe you can finagle things around and remove something else other than the CMS kit. There's another thing to remember, and everything here when you're looking at it, and you can see you have the exact same thing on your stash, you can filter your stash by different selections. So like here I could select it to weapons. I have no weapons sitting out. That's not true. Oh, he can't buy this, which is why. So if I was in my character and I did that, there you go. So now you can see my weapons. So you have to remember what you're using the filters on, whether or not people will accept things. But like Jaeger, barters, can trade some things you find in raid. You can trade in your matches, your hunter matches. So everything's kind of different. Fuel conditioners. So this is dry fuel, fuel conditioner, propane. Just things to look at. There we go. So I think I've covered just a general world of Tarkov in like an hour, unfortunately. I wish I could have made this a little bit shorter. I don't think there's really anything else needing to be worried about. You can go and find everything. I recommend, just familiarizing yourself. And as I told you, this entire setup is the exact same thing you can find in the handbook. So you can go and review all of this in here if you find it. The final thing maybe I should go and talk about is your game settings. You have your name right here, which you can change it. You have your interface. I'm an American, so English is mine. This doesn't matter, but I just generally have it set to labs, but you can throw it the factor or whatever that you really enjoy. Quick slots, you can have them auto hide, you can always show them or keep them always hidden. Personally, I rather always see them. That way I never accidentally forget what's there, especially when you're in the heat of battle. It could be a huge thing. Seeing what your stance is can be a really big improvement. On the left side of your screen, you can control how fast you're moving, how slow you're moving, which is controlled through the mouse wheel, and whether or not you're standing or crouching. I'm not going to worry about any of that. I'll show you guys a game, but right now, if you're just starting out, you don't need to worry about that kind of stuff. You'll figure that out just by playing the game and reading through the controls. But health condition, I always have it shown. Health color scheme. This is something that's very subjective. Some people prefer to have everything showing as green or black. Other people prefer to have it go through multiple colors. Myself personally, I prefer polychrome. It makes me feel like I have a quicker way of identifying whether or not a limb is in trouble. So if it turns red, I immediately know, okay, this limb is in serious danger. If it's black, it's already gone. Nothing to worry about. It is what it is now. I'm not going to be able to do anything in the moment. And if it's yellow, it's something to be concerned about, but it's not a serious issue just yet. Highlight available options, so you can see whether or not you can stack things up. This something is pretty useful, so I always keep it. Some people like to have the ability to double click things to use them in Raid and Stash. I like it, so I have that turned on. Personally, I also keep my RAM cleaners off, and only using physical cores. I don't really use that. There's quite a bit of argument between FOV and what's the best. There's a little bit of warping and being able to see things with higher fidelity at smaller FOVs. So I personally keep it at 60, and I have the head bob off. It tends to make me feel a little meh. So yeah. Um, you can turn on and off your malfunction notifications. I recommend it. It can be a big help if something weird is going on. Um, I also have preload hideout, which is why some things take a little bit longer. But the thing is if you keep it on, it does in the end save you time if you're constantly jumping back and forth. Could turn that on and off. I actually don't remember that being a setting. That must be a newer one. I don't know what that is. Here you can go and effectively set your what is your setup. You can set whatever is your primary monitor here. So if you have two monitors like myself, unfortunately they're the exact same, but it's no big deal. I have mine set so a lot of things are on max performance just so I can get the maximum amount of quality there. High quality colors is something I use. Don't worry about Z-blur. Don't worry about chrome. I have chrome aberrations, loud noise. Oh, actually, that's new. Grass shadows, I have that off. MIP streaming, I actually don't know what that is. These two are new. I imagine this was all added in once Streets came into effect. So I have not messed with this. Personally, I have Post FX off just to save performance. I don't have the strongest rig, so it can be a pretty big help to me. And then sound. This is where you can go and set what exactly is your voice actor, depending if you're a bear or a PMC. It really doesn't matter when you're starting out. I wouldn't even think about it, just pick one. Personally, bear I think is a little bit easier of a start because you start off with AKs and they're easier to mod earlier on than your M4 platform, but M4 also has some pretty phenomenal rounds that you can find very easily, and it has a lot more modularity, easier. So you can also change your music volume. So personally, I think the music is a little bit distracting, so I tend to have that off. I have the music on right end off. Binaural audio, a lot of people have arguments about this. Personally, I have it on. I also enable VoIP. You can talk to your enemies. Sometimes you can talk your way out of situations. Sometimes you can make friends. Actually, I've made quite a few friends through VoIP, and I highly recommend using it. And then finally, this is the controls. This is huge. I'd recommend familiarizing yourself with this. There's a ton of buttons, like N for face shields and NVGs. Not something you're generally going to use early on, but once you start getting more and more proficient, you start going and exploring with NVGs and stuff, this is going to become a pretty important button you're going to be using a lot. Helmet device, I've never had to use this before, but some people do use this, so depending on how you play, it's pretty important. I have my push talk set to 0 so I can go and VoIP with people. These allow you to do things. If you have high enough scav rep, you can actually use it to go and like have scavs follow you. So it's actually kind of important in that regard if you're playing as a scav. Check time and exits, I have it pressed there. So like by default, O is set to be your check time, and then if you double press it, you get your check time and exits. I just put O press to be my both because there's no real reason. Sure, it's a little annoying that it takes a second longer for it to drop down and show you all your exits, but it works. T is for your lasers and lights, how you open things, how you pull out your grenades. You can also quick key bind them, but we're not going to worry about that. And drop your backpack and a lot of other things. So there's a lot of settings in here. You're going to want to read up on and just become familiar with. You can also technically bind your phrases. These can be very important, but 90% of the time, 90% of the time it's just not worth it. Discord generally avoids you having to use these symbols to talk to people. So I'm going to click save. Oh, let's see. What else is there? What else was there? Yeah, I think that really covered everything that I'm immediately worried about. Let's go pull myself 2 more mags. 15 rounds, okay. And then, oh yeah, you can filter to find the exact item. You can link search to find things that go with it. So like, hey, this goes to this gun. And then I prefer this, so let's go and buy myself 100 extra rounds. And there we go. So now let's just do a quick raid to the factory so you guys can see how it goes. You have your scav, which is your free loadouts. This becomes faster and faster as you get better rep with fence. Thing is, you also don't want to be shooting scavs when you're a scav, because if you do, you will lower your rep. Don't shoot if they don't shoot at you. PMC, everything is free game. Don't shoot your teammate if you have one. Go right here. You can see my loadout. This is everything I'm coming in with. Can insure things and maybe get them back, but I wouldn't worry about it too much right now. Now, this is going to be a very, very quick raid, most likely. Factory tends to be a very hot start. It's not the map that I necessarily recommend people to start learning from. Customs and woods are probably the two best ones. Customs being a little easier to navigate, woods being a little bit safer if you move low and slow. And then after this, I think I'm going to show you how to determine what's good ammunition and how to start learning the maps. And then I'm going to turn you off into the world at a 1 hour long video. So, at least for factory, different maps take different amounts of time. Particularly like streets, lighthouse, reserve, those tend to be very highly contested maps. A lot of people tend to go to them because of just how much good loot there is, and of course labs. But labs is kind of a special case that I'm not even going to talk about because A, I don't run it that often, and B, starting out, you're going to want to avoid labs. There's no reason to go to labs. The same way of even if there's quests to go to Streets of Tarkov, starting out, you're probably not going to want to start going to Streets of Tarkov. There can be optimization issues with this game, and figuring out how to fine-tune all your settings so that way you're getting pretty good performance. If you're able to run customs and interchange, you're probably going to be able to run shoreline, and then you'll be able to figure out shoreline, and then you can figure out lighthouse, and then maybe you consider going to a place streets. But generally speaking, you're going to want to go and slowly progress through fine-tuning your settings to where you get good performance everywhere. Okay. Oh. Nope. Welcome to Tarkov, baby. He head tapped me, and I didn't know where he was going to be, and that's a very important thing to know. So. Oh, one thing of note. So, right here, if they have this kind of golden name, they're Edge of Darkness. You can also report people. I'm not going to report them, of course, but you can report them for individual things right there. And there you go. So you can see how much distance did you travel. I got 4 shots off, and I got no experience because I died too quickly. And you can see here, he shot me with 5.45 ammo. It was a headshot. And I unfortunately also suffered a bleed and a fracture. So I will... Oh, also starting out, you can just heal all this immediately, or you can turn these off individually. When you're just starting out, you should just accept it. They're going to be free for your first 30 raids or until you get to level 5. So just go, focus on surviving, focus on getting loot, focus on leveling up. And at the very end, if you take any damage and you end up in the screen, you can heal yourself up for free. I'm not going to actually take this, even though it's very cheap. I'm going to show you how to actually just heal yourself up from the loading screen here. It's going to take a second. I'm probably going to have to jump in the video on this end too, but let's give it a second. Alright, we're back. Now, you're going to see here, you have all these individual issues. So like my AU splint, you can see that's a fracture. There you go, now it's one use, that's been handled. Now on a grizzly, I could just right click and heal all, and that would heal everything up for me because the light bleed is something that it also removes, and it would just handle it, but I don't want to do that at the exact moment. I want to actually show you guys some other ways of going about things. So AFAC, this is one of your higher tier meds. You can go, there you go, so you click and drag over, and you can do it individually, or do it that way. So same exact way as using the grizzly, but I'm going to preserve that and run it that way. So now let's go real quick and do a rekitting. How are you going to be able to rekit quickly and effectively in this game? This can take a lot of time. People tend to get really worried. It's like, I don't know, it takes so much time to go do it. Well, first off, you're going to want to build your presets, and then you just go come here, go right here, buy parts. Don't have to worry about that. See, got all this. Don't actually want to pull that in, so let's turn that off, and then let's purchase all, and let's equip. Ignore. There we go. So I now have all this. I got my LRN ammo. Pop that out. Pop this. Let's go purchase like 200 rounds. So throw that in there. Then we're going to throw this here, throw these two together, throw that there, can throw that into there, and let's see here. I could go and just pull one of the many rigs I have here, but let's say I don't want to do that. Let's say, okay, I want to actually have something that is going to work for my gear and is pretty cheap. So let's go down to gears, and then let's go into tactical rigs. What do I want? I'd just rather look at everything. Let's see here. This is actually cheap, and it's sold by Ragman. It's about 9,000 rubles. So right there, Alt click, left click, move it immediately into your tactical rig, right left click, or Control left click, and there you go. So now I'm fully geared up, ready for another run, full healed, very light. Let's do it. Escape from Tarkov, PMC run, factory, and once again, this is going to take a little bit of time. You can click ready just to instantly launch yourself back in. And that's how quickly you can get back into a match once you get really efficient at building in your system. But you have to kind of get used to building every individual subcomponent and slowly working your way up till you're able to do very quick raids. If you don't have a lot of time to do long raids, you might just be better off doing, your scav runs and building up some money to where you have more time, and then you can focus on doing like your individual tasks in order to get your traders up, your operational tasks. But again, this is really situational in that you have to read up on things and kind of understand how things work out, and you're not going to have that in your first wipe most likely. You really need to just focus on learning the basics, figuring out how to navigate the individual menus, how to go build a kit, how to go and loot, and then how to be able to decide what to sell and what to keep. And you really only learn that by playing. Everyone that just says, oh, just do this, it's real simple, just do this. No, it's not necessarily that simple or that straightforward. So I'm going to go silent here again, and I will talk to you guys when this finally finishes loading. Okay, we are about to get in. Hopefully we don't get such an aggressive spawn that's going to put me in a... Ah, great. Exact same kind of situation as before, but... There's someone above. This is going to put me right back where I was the previous side, but... Okay. So, lightning quick. See? Just that simple. There's someone up high, I think. That's a scav. I'm not going to give away my position. Yep, and that's how quick it is. He knew I was there and I didn't. That's how Tarkov goes in Factory. Yeah, head eyes. Man, these are not the best raids to go and show how Tarkov goes, but I'm running very light gear while these guys are most definitely not. But it is, as I say, it is. Wish I could show a couple better raids or something like that, but yeah, you get the general idea of how brutal this game can go. There's two ways you can play it. You can play as a Chad, or you can play as a Rat. And since I'm going for speed, I am being a very, very aggressive Chad while wearing Rat level equipment. So it went about as well as you could hope. But that's the game, baby. So, anyways, I think that covers everything that we actually need inside of Tarkov. I guess I could do one more thing for myself. That's going to take like 3 seconds here. As you saw, I started out my hideout to do a bunch of crafts and other things, but I also need to make sure my generator stays charged so that way I still have things being made. To do that, I need a metal fuel container. I know Jaeger sells that. There's two fuel containers. There's the exploratory fuel container, which is a blue plastic one, and there's these metal fuel containers. And as you saw, there's a barter I can use, or there's a purchase. Generally, before you try to purchase anything, you should just right-click and look at it, because you never know what you're going to see. And I have a couple different options. I could go for a couple barters. Skier has actually one for pretty cheap, but Jaeger has the cheapest with the hunter matches and everything else. But I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to go buy myself a normal fuel. Right there it is. And then I'm going to come over here, put that in. And then we're going to take a look there, do that. And one last thing, let's actually go into the hideout. You can also walk around the hideout, look at everything, test out your weapons if you want, so you can see how it works out. This is at level 3, so you're not going to have that starting out. Let's just do this. This is the gym minigame, and if you don't mess it up, there we go. Yeah, it's very difficult to play this game and also, talk, but that's a real quick way to get some extra strength and endurance points, and you can see that it alternated between the two. But that's everything that's actually needed to show inside the game. Now let's go and do some actual video stuff. So escape from Tarkov maps and escape from Tarkov ammo charts. These are two things you need to really look at. So personally, I prefer Map Genie, and here you can see every single breakdown for every single map. You can see all the loot locations, but I recommend not worrying about that. Starting out, you only really want to worry about locations and extracts. Those are your big things. And then if you're trying to do a quest, you're probably going to want to turn on quest items. Simply just knowing how to navigate between the places. It might also be worth to have the spawn points just so like you can kind of figure out where you might spawn. There were some really bad spawn points, which I got the first time for what we were trying to do, and then the second time I made terrible choices in sprinting the way I did against someone that was obviously pretty heavily geared, and the way that I could tell is because I heard suppressed shots. Generally, if someone's rocking a suppressor, it means they've spent some money, and that man was very heavily geared. So yeah, you can go through there, and if you actually buy a subscription to it. You can go and save the stuff that you found, and you can go flip between all the individual maps and kind of figure them out. Customs, as I told you, it's one of the easier maps to learn starting out. It has a good bit of flexibility going through the lightly populated woods areas that can get you a little bit safer traversal, while there's a very highly contested area called dorms up there. Generally being up and around this area is a little bit safer, and then you can come through here, which is far more exposed, a lot more scavs, and generally more PMCs. Shoreline is a big map, a lot of parts to it, but then you can also go look at the individual rooms in the center. So this is the resort. A lot of stuff, a lot of loot in here. So, knowing what you're wanting to do. And then the streets. This is the streets map, the newest map, and as you can see, it is very busy. But I told you that while guns are important, ammo can be just as important, if not more so. This is what I'm talking about. You can actually look at each individual gauge or size of ammunition and see whether or not they are better or worse at doing certain things. Generally, if they're towards the top, they are flesh ammo rounds or leg meta, which is shooting someone in the legs in order to take advantage of the blacking out mechanic where damage radiates out from that. So if you shoot them in the legs, you can kill them with 4 or 5 shots if it's a really high flesh damage. Alternatively, you use something with very high pen and you try to just kill them from shooting them in the chest and breaking their armor that way. And there's quite a big difference in damage from something that is like, your 9x18, does 67 damage if it's a flash, while if it's a pen, it does 40 damage. Versus something like, let's go take a look at your bigger boy rounds, like 338 Lapua Magnum. If you're seeing Lapua AP, shoot someone in the chest with this at 79 pen value. Doesn't matter what class armor they're wearing, that thing's going through it. It will one tap anyone in the chest. And that's really what you're looking for, is you're just trying to learn from what is available. Pardon. Sorry about that, guys. Didn't mean to cough there, but I've been talking a lot and not having a lot of water. So I think this is everything that I wanted to show you guys. There's a lot of other things that they have that can help you. So like quest item trackers, so you can know, what do you need for individual quests starting out. It can help you for a lot of your barters, or like, Kappa, so you can get the biggest stash or pouch container for your PMC, so you can carry a lot of meds in safely. There's there's a lot of options and a lot of help out there, but just going out and looking for them can really help you out. Wiki is a great way to go and figure out how to do quests. So if you go look up, let's say, gunsmith, how do I do this? Escape from Tarkov wiki, just looking up the quests and seeing the general breakdown of like, oh yeah, I need these individual parts on this individual gun, and that will complete it. Going and doing your basic research, using the wiki, using the genie, using the ammo chart, that will really answer anything that you need on the outer side of things. And of course, feel free to drop by my Discord or send me a friend request. I'm always willing to talk and help people out. But anyways, I am going to leave it there, and I wish you all a good day and happy Tarkoving.